Hello, my name is Nick George with Clouds Diamond Sharpening. Just going to show you a video on clipper blades, how to adjust them, what parts do, why is tension important, why is oil important. We're going to go over everything on this clipper blade right here. They're detachable clipper blades. They fit 76s, AGCs, BGCs, BG, AG, lobby, wall. You can ask questions at the bottom and I will answer them to what blades go to your clipper. Let's go down to the table and have some fun. So these are clipper blades. They're detachable, which means they come off the clipper. What the benefits are of that is when you remove these from the clipper, everything's adjusted on the blade. So as long as your clipper has its good parts, then you don't really need the clipper to be adjusted. But parts do go bad on everything, even if you use oil, but it prolongs the life of your clipper. So now clippers that don't detach will usually be connected to the clipper, and then there's a tension arm, and instead of having this spring right here, it'll have a tension arm and you have to adjust it. So you have to get the clippers adjusted every time you get them sharpened most of the time. So this is a trimmer with a fixed blade on it, and when you get these blades sharpened, this arm has to be adjusted and the motor has to be adjusted for power. We'll take this apart just to see what it looks like. So if you notice the blade's a little dirty, let's pull it off. So if you notice, there's no spring up here to hold this down. So this has to have tension or the hair will just slip in between the teeth. So that is what this does, and this has to be adjusted. It has to be in the right part of the blade and the right amount of pressure for it to cut correctly and have the most power and travel 100%. But that's not what this video is about, but I just thought I would let you know. So these blades have a spring on it that holds the tension on the blade. So here's a clipper, a detachable clipper. It fits both of these blades. Do it while it's running. It's better for the motor and better for the drive here or lever. So it detaches. So that's pretty cool. And then you can just have a variety of blades that are detachable with different sizes. So let's go over the parts. These are screws. These do not control the tension at all. All they do is hold this piece in place. This piece holds this in place, and it makes this blade where it doesn't move. Now let's loosen the screws and see what happened. Okay, so this is a socket. The job of this is to go under this. Well, yeah, like that. See these ears? When they go down, see they touch the sides of this hinge. What that does is keep the blade from rattling. So if you got a rattly blade, it's usually this piece. And you will have to fix these ears or buy a new piece. This is a spring. This holds the tension and guides the blade. But this little plastic piece here is very important also, because it keeps metal from rubbing on metal, and there's a little slot in the cutter. So without this piece, it flops around, and most of the time it won't cut because it loosens the tension, because there's less space in between the spring and the metal. This is a cutter. Its job is easy to cut, and you never want this to touch your face. It's sharp, or skin or anything. This is a comb. This is where the hair guides through the teeth and protects your skin. So if the cutter is over like that and it's moving, this is gonna cut you. If it's over and over the flat surface of the running space, it won't cut, it'll just move hair around. So you need to have it back a little bit. See the little bits of light there? You need to have it back a little bit for it to cut correctly. Now these blades are not flat, they look flat, but they have shape and they're basically cut out. And when you sharpen them, it puts a really fine pattern, and it makes these teeth pinch down, and it makes it stay sharper longer, because instead of having a flat blade, once a blade goes flat, it goes dull. So what that means is once there's no shape, then there's too much running surface, and what ends up happening is it lifts either on the sides and it'll pull on the sides, or the middle. It's not how sharp this is. It has nothing to do with that, but that does help. So of course, even if you take a file and ground the teeth off this way, it would still cut. Now how good, I don't know. It will still cut though, I guarantee that. So if you have like a tooth broken, it's best to grind it down and make the tooth even with the other teeth if you can. But I wouldn't recommend you doing it, because you will probably ruin the blade by grinding it the wrong way, or grinding it too much, or just not having a sharp blade, and it will never work. So now we're going to zoom in here and we're going to see how to adjust the blade. So I recommend 2 pounds of pressure. Some sharpeners go up to 5. I've seen 6 pounds of pressure. What that is going to do is it's going to make it where the clipper blade gets really hot. It's going to have your clipper working harder, so your clipper is going to get hot. It's going to wear out parts. So I find a good 2 pounds of pressure is good for everybody, if you can sharpen it and not have it too hollow where you have to have more pressure. So now we're just going to put this together, okay? So now my easiest way that I've learned over 25 years or so is put the socket in, ears through the spring first, and then slide it down, okay? So now it's kind of loose in there. You can still move it around. See the holes? There's a little, these holes are bigger than the socket holes, so there's adjustment ability. So what I do is I set this on my middle finger, right? And see, you can see the holes, and then all I do is take the comb and I line it up with the holes. See, you can see the holes. So now I just pinch it, right? I take the screw, I put it in there. Now you could screw this screw in to make your job easier, so we'll just go ahead and do that. I usually just put both screws in, and you can feel it screwing in. Okay, oh, it's all the way tight. So now what I'm going to do is go back 1/4 of a turn. What that tells me is there's going to be 2 pounds of pressure in the spring if it has 2 pounds of pressure, because you should be able, I'll show you in a second, that you can lift this with your finger, right? See that? It's not too hard to lift. It's a little bit tight, but that's fine. So now this blade is basically put together. Okay? So I take the cutter, I line it up with the guide here, and I just slide it under. If it slides under easy, then you probably got about 2 pounds of pressure. If it's really hard to pull up, you might have too much pressure, but don't adjust it yet. Okay, so now the cutter is in there. It's really loose. Don't use it now. But now we set this back. I just hit it a little bit if it needs to be, so you can move it so the fold from the socket to the spring goes down all the way. You don't want these, it would be better to set your blade like this, way back, than have it like this. That's bad. You could feel it. It's just gonna move hair around and cut and leave lines. And so now we move it back. Okay, so your goal is not to get, you don't need to get it really close. Now if it's like a 40 blade, you want it a little closer than this, but still you don't want it hanging over or it's gonna cut you or leave razor burn or razor bumps. Okay, so now this is straight, right? So now I bring it down like this, face the teeth towards you and lean it up and tilt it like this. And I see a lot of people, they don't use it like this and they go like this. The problem with this is you're gonna slip and stab your hand, I promise. So what I do is I put it on a slope on the table and I put my thumb right next to the screw. So if this slides when I'm pushing, it's gonna go like this. It isn't gonna go like this because my thumb's in the way. It can go like this and it still can't get anything. So that's good. So now tighten it up, flip it on the two screws at the base, and then tighten this up. Okay, so now hopefully this is straight. So we're gonna go ahead and look at it, and it is. Okay, so now let's pretend it isn't straight, right? Here, we're gonna make it not straight, because now we got a problem. Okay, see how it's sideways? That's not good. Okay, I don't need to take this blade all the way apart. I can actually just, the side that needs to be done, either if it's this side, you set it like this. If it's this side, just set it like this. Okay, put your thumb there. And then loosen it up 1/4 of a turn and just move it. There, now it's straight. You see how it's straight? Put it back down, tighten it back up. And hopefully you get it, and you just have to keep retrying until you get it, depending on if your spring's really bent or whatever. There could be multiple problems. So now let's go over tension. So this is pretty easy to slide. It's probably about 2 pounds of pressure, like I said. Let me help you get something that we can weigh this, see how much tension we actually have. So you can literally use any scale. This is my shipping scale, and what you're going to want to do is slide the blade about halfway, and you're going to want to put it on this scale, the cutter, and you're going to keep going until it shows your pounds. See, 2.5 pounds. So now so now slide it back. Oh, sorry. Slide it back, and you're going to want it to go to about, see right there's a little hesitation because it goes over the thing. So just slide it from here to about here to find your pounds of pressure. So let's do that. I'll tell you when it starts sliding. It's sliding a little bit. There we go, it's sliding. And it just stopped. So that's a little under 2 pounds. That's fine for me. I can still get them sharp at that. So we'll go ahead and keep that, because the less amount of pressure, the better it's going to cut, and it'll keep your clipper running easier and better. So let's go back to the table now that we figured out this has 2 pounds of pressure. So okay, let's just say this is way too loose and is sucking in hair and pulling hair. We're gonna go ahead and try to tighten the tension. I don't recommend you do this, especially because if you have a dull blade, it's gonna do nothing but damage the blade, because you're just pushing it harder. It's gonna hurt your clipper, and it may cut for a little bit, but not very good, and it's damaging all your equipment. It's putting grooves in the running surface, and that's bad, because I have to remove that. Okay, so the tension's way too loose, let's just say. Okay, first of all, let's start with tight tension. So the tension's way too tight. Let's say it's 5 pounds. So it's simple to fix. I don't recommend doing this if you don't know what you're doing though, because if you do this and you loosen the tension, the blade's not gonna cut no matter what. So now you just pull the spring up a little bit, and now the tension's way looser. Okay, so now my tension's loose. So now let's go ahead and see how we tighten it. So you take the spring, put your finger in it. Look at these little bends here. So the mission of the goal today is to take your pliers and put it like that. So there's a little gap back here, and then you squeeze it, and see, it pushes it together. And you just put a little bend. Now you want to do it on the other side too. So now, see how they're bent? That's going to be really tight tension. So now, take your comb, put this on your middle finger, line up the holes, and put the screws in. Go back a quarter of a turn. Okay, so now this tension's going to be too tight. Go back a quarter of a turn, and you're going to see I'm not going to be able to lift it. Look, I can't even lift that. I already know that's 5 pounds probably. There's just no way I can get this cutter in here. So now I can either loosen the tension, which is kind of risky, so we're just going to go ahead and loosen the screws more just to get that cutter under there, because we don't want to loosen the tension again, because eventually this is going to get weak. So now, see, I can pinch it and I can get my finger under there. But I had to go back a half a turn. So what does that tell you? It's probably going to be 3 pounds to 5 pounds, just guessing. So you line it up, put it down, tighten one screw, flip it over, put your thumb there, tighten the other screw. Okay, so that's pretty good, but that's really tight. Let's go see how tight it is. I mean, it would probably still be acceptable. I didn't tighten it that much, but it's probably at least 3 pounds, for sure. Let's go see. Okay, so here we go. Slide it out, about halfway, and once it stops right there, it's gonna stop because it tries to get over this hump, and then you just gotta push it together. So, put it like that, a little over half, put it down, and let's see when it starts sliding. There it is, almost 3 pounds. See, that's still not that bad. If you got a 2 to 3 pound blade, I wouldn't even worry about that. But once you get over about 4 pounds, you need to start considering clipper damage. And parts will add up. These clippers are meant to last for a very long time, and they do. If you get them serviced regularly and get the drives and hinges replaced, they could last 20 years if you take care of them. And it's, $30 to $50 repairs, and that's every 3 to 6 months, depending on how much you use it. You use oil, you could even prolong that life a little more. You want to clean the carbons out of the motor and everything like that. Let's go back to the table though. Okay, so now the tension, let's say it was 5 pounds. We need to loosen it a little bit. That's it. It's loose. Okay? Now let's say we need to clean the blade. Shove this in there, like this. A flathead screwdriver. Don't stab yourself. And you can just simply slide this cutter off. You can clean it, oil it, and just keep it there. And then you can slide this right back in. It's like magic. So now let's go over the importance of oil and why we should use oil on all clipper blades and any moving metal parts that rub each other. Need oil. Your motor in your car needs oil. Your iron skillet needs oil. Metal needs oil. It loves oil. It's like it's water. But don't put water on it, because you'll rust. Okay, so oil, first of all, will help this slide easier. Okay, let's see how we oil here. So we got a clipper blade. You could put a dot here, dot here, dot here, dot here, dot here, and dot here. Or you could just simply slide it. Okay, now you can say, oh, there's too much oil, it's going to get all over the dog or my hair I'm cutting. Well, you can actually take this and just wipe it off if you have to. And that's still better than not oiling at all. There's still oil in there. But if you do have oil on it, so when it goes through dirt or hair product, well then it won't just sit there and grind in between the teeth, the hair product and the dirt. Instead, it'll beat off with the oil and come off the side, which is good because then your blade doesn't go dull immediately. You can dull a blade in seconds with product or dirty dog. If dirt gets in there, it'll round all those teeth off and take away the shape and make it flat, and it won't work. So oil makes this slide easier. In turn, this doesn't get rounded or damaged as fast. The ears of this, see, if it's harder to move this blade's going to start rattling and it's going to stretch these ears out. This is like a $5 piece, just this piece. So it can add up fast. And if you don't oil your blades, well, it's on the here and it's trying to move the blade so hard because it's so tight or doesn't have oil that it's rounding this tip, it's moving these ears, it's breaking this bearing, and it's rounding the edges of your hinge. So eventually you're going to need this whole front end repaired if you don't oil. So we fix all clippers that have parts available, and we can sharpen any blade that can be disassembled. Any clipper blade or scissor or shear, cattle blades, all that. We can service any clipper that has parts available, and if it doesn't have parts available, if I can fix it without parts, I will. You need to get these serviced because carbon gets built up, and once this overheats, the whole motor starts warping, making noise, blowing switches. Preventative maintenance, $35 to $50. It's better than buying a new clipper all the time, and because roughly they're about $200 now. So spending $50 every 6 months to a year compared to $200, and always having working tools if you get it serviced is a way better deal. So I get a question, why do my blades turn orange and why does my clipper turn orange? Well, what that is heat from the metal peeling each other, and it's putting little flakes of rust and bad metal. With oil, that prevents that. If you're having problem with rusted blades without even not using them and you always use cool spray, well, read it, because cool spray needs oil afterwards all the time. It evaporates almost immediately. All it is to cool your blade and then oil afterward. And if your blades are still rusting, even if they're sitting, well then oil them when you're done using them. That's also good for it, because the moisture won't soak into the metal, I promise. I got a bunch of refurbished blades that never rust because they're always oiled. And oil prolongs the sharpening and prolongs the life of the blade, because once these rails are gone, the blade is done. And how does it get? These rails go down faster if you don't use oil, because it puts pits and rust and all kinds of stuff happens to the blade as it grinds two pieces of metal together without oil. So if you use oil, They're going to stay sharper longer. You're going to get more sharpenings out of them. You'll be happier with your job because this blade's going to slide a lot easier. The blade's not going to get as hot with oil. It'll still get hot, and sometimes you got to use that cool spray, but just go ahead and oil afterward and then you're fine. Or put it on a marble block and get a new blade. So oil is very important. Having your clipper blade adjusted correctly is important. Have your clipper blade sharp, because a dull blade hurts when it cuts hair. So I take pride in making every blade work perfectly because I care about the animals and the people, and I like a good haircut. I can tell when I go to the barber if they got dull blades. I could feel it in my hair as it cuts my hair. I can tell if you have dull scissors. Same thing with scissors, you know, you drop them and they get a nick in them, stop using them, and you need to get them sharpened or the nick will grow. But this is not a scissor video, so we're getting off the subject here. So thank you for watching this wonderful video, very long video. I hope you liked it. If you have any video ideas, please let me know in the comment section. Ask any questions you want and I will answer them. We sharpen clipper blades at a great price. Send them in today. Do not delay. Thank you for this wonderful adventure and have a wonderful day. See you later.